Today's drawing is these hyper-realistic cherries in Caran D'ache luminance pencils. For those of you who are new here, my name is Michelle Moreus, and I create art tutorials that are fun, easy, and accessible for everyone. If you're returning, thanks so much for watching. So to start off this piece, I am mapping in my shadows and my highlights. And I'm doing this in the color pencil so that I don't have too much graphite on the page to have to try to cover up or erase. I don't want it to show through on my finished product. So I go through my first phase, which I call color mapping. So I'm basically just putting in my first layers, and there are going to be several layers of color pencil down. And I'm just adding in what I see in my reference photo. If something is a little bit more pink, I'm going to put pink down there. If something is more deep red, I'm going to put some deep reds down there. And we're going to build up on this slowly and gradually. You want to have nice sharp color pencils as always. And the reason for this is you do not want to scar the paper or ruin the tooth of the paper so that you can't put down any more layers on top. So we're really going to build this up very slowly and build it up so that we get a really nice high contrast. And that's really the secret to hyper realistic drawing, is very high contrast. You want to have your deep dark shadows and you want to have your bright highlights. So you want to make sure that you are leaving yourself enough tooth of the paper to put down so many layers. We're going to blend several colors together to get a really rich looking cherry color. If you're struggling a little bit, you want to definitely refer to your reference photos. You want to have those on hand to look at. You don't want to use someone else's drawing to draw off of, because as you're drawing, you are also drawing their mistakes. So you want to use a good high quality, high contrast reference photo. And this will just help you along. And the most important thing is you want to pay attention to your light source. It should be consistent throughout the piece. So if your light source is coming from the left to the right, then you want to make sure that your highlights are all on the left-hand side. And if it's looking head-on, you want to pay attention to that reference photo and see where those are. Now, bright highlights can still be bright, but don't have to be pure white. So you want to definitely glaze some color into some of those highlights. And this will just add to the blending of the piece. It'll be more smooth and more seamless, and it will look more realistic. I believe drawing is a skill, but it's about 50% observation. You can learn to draw with practice, patience, and observation. And if you have some guidance along the way, I believe that you really can improve and learn how to draw with a really good, realistic eye once you've learned how to take things in small bits. So you want to look at the shapes of things. So stop focusing on the object itself and look at the patterns and shapes that are created within the shadows and the highlights. And this will help you along your drawing journey immensely. You can try different things like putting your reference and your drawing upside down, which will force you to look at things in a different way. And you'll start to look at the shapes instead of the object. This is particularly useful when you're doing a portrait or something that's a little bit more technical. So look at those shapes, look at the shapes that each of those highlights make, and just represent them. Value is also extremely important in any kind of realistic drawing. You want to use a full range of values, meaning you don't want to just use one or two colors. You want to use each value from light to dark and everything in between. So you want to make sure that you are mixing your colors and blending them well. And in this case, I'm actually adding some purple and pinks into this cherry. I know the cherries are red, but I do see some purple in those highlights, and I'm going to add those in. And that's my trained eye, just seeing things a little different. So if you kind of just really study that reference image and see what colors are in there, and you might see a little hue of purple or blue, and it will help you to gain that realism. So I'm going in with some kind of a purpley pink color, and then we're going to glaze some red over it. So you're going to see as we build up our colors, this is going to look more and more shiny and more realistic. I want to talk a little bit about line quality. Line quality basically means that you don't want to have everything outlined. Your only outline should be in the beginning of your drawing when you're doing your sketch, and then that is going to get blended in as you go along with the drawing. Line is actually formed when two values meet. So a line will be formed where your dark shadow meets your bright highlight, and this really is important. You don't want things to look outlined or cartoony in realistic drawing, so you want to only form the shape of something by where your values meet each other. So your value is the lightness or darkness of a color. And it's not so much what colors you're using, it's the lightness and darkness that you're putting down, and how you're juxtaposing those light and darks. So you could easily make these cherries blue, and it would still look really realistic as long as your value is correct. So you want to make sure that you have your darks dark enough and your lights light enough. Part of your success in any drawing is not to give up too soon. You want to keep going. You want to always finish your work. And if you get frustrated, you walk away and you go back to it with some fresh eyes. I really think that a lot of people give up too soon, or they consider their drawing finished too soon. And I'm really a big proponent of pushing those values as far as you can. You still need to know when to stop and when it's finished, but a lot of people don't take it far enough. So especially in hyperrealism, you want to really push your values as far as they can go. So really darken up your dark shadows and make sure your highlights are light enough. When you're working with color pencils, you want to make sure that your pencil strokes are going in the direction of the object. So in this case, the objects are round. My pencil strokes are also going to be rounded with the cherry. So you don't want to start going side to side and up and down and all haphazard. You want to make sure that you are going in the direction or in the motion of the object that you're drawing. So if you're drawing fur, you want to draw the pencil strokes in the direction that the fur is going, or feathers. In this case, with the rounded objects, you want to make your pencil strokes going around the object. So this will help to blend things out smoother. We're not using any solvent in this drawing. We are just going to burnish as we get closer to the end. Burnishing is when you gradually increase the pressure on the pencil, and basically what it does is it mushes all the underneath layers together and gives you a nice smooth blend. I'm using the Caran D'ache Luminance pencils here, and they are a wax-based pencil. So if you're using a colorless blender, you want to use a wax-based colorless blender. Basically, a colorless blender is a stick made up of the binder material that's in the particular pencil that you're using. Prismacolor has one, Polychromos has one, Luminance has one, and it does help to use the specific blender that is made for that pencil that you are using. I am popping a few highlights with a Jelly Roll pen, but I'm not going to leave them pure white. I'm going to go over them with my white pencil and also glaze over them with some color. And basically this is just going to make it look more natural and not so that you have this just bright white glaring highlight. If you're enjoying today's tutorial, please consider subscribing to my channel and give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. I really love hearing from you guys, and I get back to each and every one of you. For full-length tutorials on most of my YouTube content plus extra, you can check out my Patreon page. For a small monthly fee, you can subscribe. You get access to the reference photo, the sketch outline, and the materials list with a clear voiceover by me in real time. Thanks so much for watching, and happy art!